Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Turn it up, turn it up.
Welcome to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast.
The tides are turning. The time is now.
Your home for the mindset, methodology, and tools needed to invest in foreclosures.
Don't you dare buy a house. Buy a deal. You need to get into this right now.
Right now, yeah.
And now your host, the Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. Thank you. My name is Donnie Corum. I'm your Foreclosure Deals Coach and your host of the show this and every week on the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. Let's get into it today. We've got an article from the Ascent at Motley Fool. Now, I like to take the show and combine it. And it's just, we got my editor here, so let's just bring that up. Chris, one of the things we like to do on the show, you're kind of new to the show. By the way, welcome Chris Lawler, our executive producer.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
How's it going, man? So we like to have an article that we bring to the show each and every week that's giving you the latest in foreclosure news. And to be frank, in the last few years, the foreclosure news has been a little bit redundant. And I think the reason behind that is because there haven't been very many foreclosures. But now, investment rags like the Motley Fool, which is a huge investment company, and they have a thing called the Ascent, and they are bringing up an article that talks about the two pros and cons of buying a foreclosed home. So they try to do a nice balanced article, and I think it's super balanced in the capacity of there are some benefits and there are some disadvantages to buying a foreclosed home. Now, here on the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, we're referring to investing in a foreclosed home. So this is definitely coming from the tonality of somebody who wants to move into a property and live there. But whether you're buying a home to live in it or you're buying a home as an investment, the math is still the same. You're looking to not buy a house, but to buy a deal. And if you buy a deal in the market that we're in right now, you're going to be in a huge advantage in the market that's coming up. Because the reality is, as the market fades, we are seeing a reduction in purchase price of houses caused largely by an increase in the mortgage interest rates. People's buying power has just gone down substantially. So you don't have as much buying power that's going to translate into people spending less on their homes. This is a design of the federal government that has been no less than clear that they're trying to stall out the red-hot housing market in an attempt to get inflation into check and ideally keep home ownership affordable for Americans in general. So the idea is sound. The problem is when you slam on the brakes, as the government has done with the housing market right now, what you're going to have is a ripple effect that is definitely affecting housing, but the housing market also ties in mortgage lenders, real estate agents, appraisers, inspectors, the list goes on and on of people that are tied to the housing market. The ripple effect for damaging the housing market could have much larger economic impacts than we think. So we're looking at this, and you want to try to weigh the pros and cons of whether you should be buying a foreclosure, when the reality is there just aren't that many foreclosures to look at the moment. I habitually have looked at the HUD foreclosure list, which you learn more about from my Hidden Foreclosure Secrets free ebook that's available at foreclosuredealscoach.com. I look at that list pretty much every day, but in the last couple of months, even, there's been so few HUD foreclosures that it has not really been worth looking every single day, because the answer has been nothing to look at. Well, Colorado is kind of an anomaly in that our market went so far up that there aren't a ton of foreclosures available in the Colorado market. That may not speak to your market. If you look on the HUD foreclosure list, which again you can learn more about by getting my free ebook, downloading that, you will find states that are wrought with HUD foreclosures and other types of foreclosures already. Just in Colorado, it's lagging just a little bit. So getting back to this article, which we will be posting into the show notes here, there are two pros they're mentioning and two cons of buying a foreclosure property. We're going to jump in and discuss both the two pros, and we're going to see if I agree with both of them and the two cons, and we're going to diffuse some of that as well into why you may want to consider buying a foreclosure. Let's dive in and get going. You ready to go, Chris? You ready to rock?
Absolutely.
Let's do this. Okay, so pro number one, and this one seems a little duh-ish, but a lower purchase price. Now, the benefit to buying below market assets, as I teach in my 5 F's of foreclosure investment course, the benefit to doing this is you are buying the property below what market value is. The question is, in a falling market, what is current market value? Well, the problem is at the moment, because things are kind of stalled out, we don't know what the actual value of real estate is going to be as the market moves forward. We know what things are selling at right now, but the problem is they aren't selling very often. Whereas we had a days on market here in town that was measured more in hours on market because things were moving so quickly. Today, you don't ultimately know what the bottom of the market's going to be. So when you're buying a foreclosure, you're buying direct from a bank that's already foreclosed on the property, owns the property involuntarily, and is generally very motivated to sell that property below market. So one of the key benefits, and I totally agree with this, one of the primary benefits to buying a foreclosure property is you should, and I want to note should, because not all foreclosures are deals and not all deals are foreclosures, but by design, the motivated nature of the seller in a foreclosure, which is the lending institution that foreclosed, is there's a tendency to get a lower purchase price on those properties. Okay, so some are better than shape than others, as the article alludes to, and you may have to do a lot of work, but don't let that dismay you, because if we bought foreclosures that were in perfect condition, there was just an underlying financial condition that made that house go into foreclosure. Your goal is to look for the deal by analyzing it comparative to other properties that are selling in that neighborhood and making sure that you're buying at least below market, but hopefully significantly below market, because that's the reason you want to look for foreclosures, and actually the whole essence of the show and the coaching product that I offer to my students who are looking to capitalize on buying below market assets like foreclosures. Okay, so you should pay less, a lot less, for a foreclosure than you pay for a standard home. That's one of the reasons you're looking at it. Pro number 2 is a chance to put your own stamp on a home. Now, I don't exactly know what they meant. I guess I first visualized having a stamp that you're going to stamp on the property, and I know that's what they did not have in mind with this article, because, I mean, how many of us own a rubber stamp, and why would you want to stamp your home with it? That doesn't make a ton of sense, right? But what they actually meant was the ability to add your own design ideas to your property. And you see these flipping shows, right? You got Chip and Joanna Gaines, you got all these guys who are out there, they're really enjoying remodeling their property. They make it look like so much fun. While this is reality TV, it's not normally based on reality. The part of this is reality, is that if you buy a below market foreclosure deal, you will have the equity spread available to you now to do the work that you want to do to that property to make it your own. You know, if you're buying a fully retail condition, brand new property, the last thing you're going to want to do is repaint the walls, replace the cabinets, put in new countertops. You just bought a brand new property. You don't have to sink money into a brand new property. That just doesn't make a ton of sense, right? But when you're buying a foreclosure, you're generally buying something that needs work anyway. And as a result, if you're kind of the handy remodeling type, or you're just really into that, making your home personalized, this is an excellent opportunity, because if you invest money into something that you already bought at top of market, which is generally the case on new builds, you're paying at or above what that property would retail at. You don't have a ton of room or any room to invest further in that property. And a lot of people who bought really nice houses and then spent money in addition to buying a really nice house have found themselves in a bad situation financially, right? So you don't want to be that person. Buy something below market is what they're saying, and now you have the ability to customize that home to your best interest, to set it up for success by buying the house below market, fixing it to your desires, what your family needs, your paint colors, the stuff that you want in the property. You can add that personalized touch to the property, making it your home, which is a huge benefit of buying a below market asset. Now, once again, not all foreclosures are great deals. Got to make sure you're doing the proper analysis, and not all deals are foreclosures. There's a ton of properties on the market right now that are not foreclosures, that are actually really great deals. And because of the high inventory, you can buy a house that's not owned by a bank and get a great deal right now. But if you're buying a foreclosure, the tendency is you're also buying a deal. And as such, they are excellent opportunities for people who want to flex their remodeling muscle, right? You've been watching those shows. You are dying to experience painting your own room. You've always wanted to use that particular shade of chartreuse. How often do you get to use chartreuse in a sentence? If we're being honest, that's
Just not enough.
not
honestly.
near enough, right?
No.
It's just an opportunity. I saw it and I went for it. I'm proud of myself. You want to use that particular shade of chartreuse on your bedroom. This could be the opportunity to do it because you are putting your own personalized stamp on the property because you bought it below market. You got a great deal on it. Now you're remodeling it to your own taste. I agree with that one as well. I think I'm not a big fan of remodels, okay? I don't get attached to properties. Most people live in their house a lot longer than I do. I'm generally, flipping a property. I'm living there for a short period of time, but I appreciate the fact there are some people who intend on being in that property for 3 to 5 years, and as such, they really want to personalize the property. I respect that. I'd rather, if you're going to personalize it, you don't do so on a property you already overpaid for because you're just sinking more money into an asset. It's like buying a really crappy car, right? A $3,000 Monte Carlo or something, and putting $6,000 of rims on it. Right? Like you feel cool, but financially it was suicide. Okay. Same applies to buying a retail property and modding it out, tricking it out. But if you're buying a foreclosed property, you've got equity to begin with. So anything you add to it is beneficial to both you and the market later on when you're selling it. That is just a smart play when you're really looking at doing some heavy remodeling to your dream home. Maybe you can't find on the market what you want, so you buy something below market, you spec it out the way you want it to be, and the end product, you got a better property that's more personalized to your taste. Let's move on because we're beating that one to death. We've got con number 1. So we went over the 2 pros into buying a foreclosure market. Now Motley Fool wants to continue on and talk about the cons of buying a foreclosure. And number 1 is you don't know how much repair work you're taking on, right? You're buying this property not sight unseen. That day is kind of sailed, right? We're not doing that as much anymore. You're seeing the property, but how do you know how much work this property needs? Well, it's not that difficult to do a home inspection. However, with a foreclosed property, you're doing that home inspection for yourself, not for the lender. Lenders are generally very clear when they're selling a foreclosure that you're buying it as is and where is, so they're not going to do any additional work. They've already built in what they believe the necessary repairs are into the property, and they're not looking to do any additional repairs to sell you the property. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. I have worked with foreclosed properties and retail buyers who needed to have certain inspection items handled in order to get it through a typical loan process. For instance, if you're buying the property with a VA home loan, you may have to get some small stuff done. The VA is not big on broken glass, which can happen on foreclosed properties. They're not big on wood that is exposed for fear that the wood could rot. So there are times where the bank will work with the agent who lists the property. They normally don't have a representative here in town to do it themselves, but they might work with the agent who's listing the property to get that property to spec to get it done. But generally speaking, you're doing a home inspection, you're determining what needs to be fixed with the property, and you are fixing it yourself because that was the trade-off in buying the property. So they're saying that you can't negotiate to a lower price, but you can negotiate whether or not you can buy the property at all. And if you do an inspection and it finds a major issue, like there's a foundation issue or a serious roof issue or mold or something like that, you may end up not buying the property. And generally, they don't want to negotiate on the price, but you might find reasons not to buy the property on that home inspection, which could make it worth it, right? Con number 2, and kind of the last part of this article, is you may have a harder time getting a mortgage. Right? And this is completely true. One of the challenges that we dealt with in the heavy foreclosure market back in 2008 and 2010 is that conventional FHA and VA loans, which are commonly used by retail buyers, are not as available on foreclosures because of the condition. Right? If you're an investor looking to flip the home, then you're going to find a hard or a private money lender through my lending sources or through your own lending sources that will allow you to buy the property regardless of the condition. That's actually the benefit to being an investor on foreclosures is you're one of the few buyers who can get hard private or conventional financing on the property, so you're not competing in the retail lending space, which is one of the reasons why the house is so cheap anyway. There are simply less buyers who want it, for one thing, decreased demand, but then there's another set of less buyers who can actually get that property financed because of the condition, right? Now, again, this is not always the case. Sometimes foreclosures are just fine condition-wise, but a lot of times they are going to need some added work, and in those settings, you're going to want to make sure you're either getting a specialized loan or you're accepting that this is not going to happen without doing harder private money. Okay, so you can be a super strong borrower, have all the credit needs you want. If the bank doesn't like the property, they're not going to do it. The article goes on to ask if you should buy a foreclosure. Well, obviously, you're listening to this show, you know you should buy a foreclosure. We end every show with don't buy a house, buy a deal. But I can tell you the answer is absolutely yes. You should be considering buying a property below market at all times, because if the market corrects and you bought below market, you're okay. Right? You bought the property lower than it was worth, so you're not as affected by any massive switch in the value of the home. Whereas if you buy it at retail and it goes down, you're screwed, right? Because a lot of people bought above market in the big hot market of 21 and 22. People were paying 30, 40, 50 grand over asking price. If they're trying to sell that property today, they're in real trouble. Whereas if you had bought a foreclosure, there weren't many to pick from, but if you had managed to find a deal in that marketplace, you're in a much better economic condition than you were before, because you bought it with equity. Even if the property goes down a little bit, it probably won't go down to where you paid for it, and it at some point it will definitely go back up. And in doing so, you are securing your financial position because you bought it right to begin with. Right? The saying is that you make your money in real estate investing, and that is whether you're living in the property or renting it out or flipping it. You make money in real estate investing when you buy the property. You realize that gain when you sell it. Okay, so if you're going to be living in the property for 2 to 3 years, you got plenty of time if there is an economic collapse. And I'll be frank and tell you, I don't believe there's going to be. I think there's going to be some reduction in the prices of homes. We're seeing that in real time right now. But are we talking overall global collapse? It's possible, but it's unreasonable. Okay, in this market, I'd be focused even more on buying a great deal and then selecting my exit strategy differently. It's difficult to sell houses right now, so it might be a good time to rent it out. Provide yourself a passive rental income. When you buy a house, remodel it a little bit to rent it and then rent it out, you are making profit in multiple ways. You are getting the fact that you bought the house below market as a benefit. You are also getting the fact that you're renting it out, so you're getting that upside to the rental income it should create, and then you're getting the appreciation when the market adjusts to where it needs to be. That combination is a power punch for building wealth through real estate investing by buying foreclosed properties. It is the very essence of why I do this show, why I encourage you to download my book, The Hidden Foreclosure Deals Market, by clicking on the link in the show notes today. And if you're really ready to get started, why you should consider getting my course, The 5 F's of Foreclosure Investment System, which is going to walk you through how to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip your foreclosure deal to make the maximum amount of profit. The combination of all these things means that buying a foreclosure is an excellent investment for a person who understands how that marketplace works and knows where to look for the best deals in their local market by going through the process of finding those deals with the strategy I teach in my course. And on the show quite a bit. If you listen to enough episodes, you're going to find a lot of great strategies for finding great deals and getting them into your portfolio. As always, the time to act is right now. The question has been asked a couple of times, is now a good time to invest in real estate? Let me give you a hint on that. Now is a better time to invest in real estate than it was when we started the show years ago. Okay, there were less opportunities to invest in the last 2 years than there are going to be in the next 2 years. The opportunities are going to be everywhere, which means the time to invest in real estate is right now. You're going to want to get involved. Head on out to foreclosuredealscoach.com. Download my free ebook, The Hidden Foreclosure Deals book, and know that weighing the pros and cons of buying a foreclosure like we just did with this article, it is definitely a pro to buy a great deal in the housing market. If you need some help to do so, that's what I'm here for. That's what this show is all about as your foreclosure deals coach. And that's pretty much our show for today, man. We want to keep it relatively simple. I love this article. It's pretty cool. I am going to post it into the Facebook page, the Foreclosure Deals Coach page. You're going to see it there. You're also going to see it in the show notes here, and would love to have you as part of the conversation to discuss what's going to happen with this market and how we as foreclosure investors can benefit and profit from the market that's coming up. In the meantime, I encourage you to get started. Head out to the website, download the book, learn a little bit more, and get moving. The time is now. The market is here. With that, we're going to conclude by reminding you this is Donnie Corum, your foreclosure deals coach, bringing you the best in foreclosure news each and every single week right here on the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, and reminding you today and always, don't buy a house,
Buy a deal.
Want more of the Foreclosure Deals Coach? Like our Facebook page, Foreclosure Deals Coach. The latest in real estate and foreclosure investing. Become a part of our community. Search Foreclosure Deals Coach on Facebook to join today.